So welcome to the Buddha bit. In this case, we're in the middle scope of spiritual practice. The previous ones, precious human rebirth, things are impermanent, taking refuge, and karma, are a foundation of just having a good life. I mean, they're not something that's inferior. I mean, sometimes it's translated as sort of it's called the inferior scope of spiritual practice, and the middle scope is great. I think that's a really bad translation. It's basically initial. Get your act together. Okay, so anyway, that's the first one. So now we're in the middle scope. And the middle scope is basically self-liberation, figuring yourself out, getting your act together in a sense of deeper internally. So if you were to sort of think of the initial scope would be, I'm organizing my life, but then when you arrive to the middle scope, it's like you go to a psychologist. You're going to get a little bit deeper analysis of things. So that's what the middle scope's about. Now, the basis for that is understanding your sense of self. Now, the words being used are really, really important. So, for example, I mean, a long time ago, the translation was to be egoless. The Buddha was egoless. Well, a hugely bad translation, because the word ego has all the connotations of Freud and Jung and all those guys, and it's not an accurate way to talk about your sense of self. And so the correct word is sense of self. Why? Because, for example, as you're listening to this right now, I mean, what's your sense of self? Like, how was breakfast? How was lunch? What's going on in your social life? You know, what's your job? All of that is your sense of self right now. For example, listening to this has those dynamics that's creating your sense of self. And then there's on top of that, like your self-image, you know, I mean, how you think about your weight or your height or your lack of height or your money or lack of money. I mean, all of those things are your sense of self. So it's a dynamic and it's a very real phenomena. You know, the funny thing would be is that if you were to realize the ultimate nature of reality, the voidness, you know, the personal liberation, you do not destroy your sense of self. You merely understand it correctly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the examples that you could give other than just to say, there's no way that your sense of self is going to cease to exist. No. I mean, and let's use a perfect example. Buddha Shakyamuni. If Buddha Shakyamuni, and upon attaining enlightenment, became Mr. Potato Head, you know, no personality whatsoever, he wouldn't have affected India. But rather he was a crown prince, he stood very well, he was regal, he had a great education. When he started to talk, he had a really good, you know, use of language. He had a sense of presence. I mean, he was incredible. I mean, to meet him would have been like awe-inspiring, you know, that. And then if you move forward, I mean, you take Padmasambhava or Milarepa or Tsongkhapa, I mean, they all have personality. You know, and so what is it that's there? Well, their personality is in harmony with reality, not feeling self-existent and such. Anyway, so the middle scope of spiritual practice is based on three things: misunderstanding, attachment, and aversion. Okay, now again, the word ignorance is wrong. It's not a good word, because if you look at the Tibetan, and I'm not up on Sanskrit, but the Tibetan is rikpa or marikpa. Okay, so in the root of the word, rikpa means to understand. Marikpa is I don't understand. So that's when they say, like, we have marikpa, dopa, and enojo, or anger. Anyway, sorry, one wrong language, Spanish. Anyway, so the point is that the correct word to say is I understand or I don't understand. And on the basis of I don't understand, I have attachments. I exaggerate phenomena to want them to last forever, or happiness and pleasure and such. Or I have anger, which is that I don't like things to get in the way of me being happy and having what I want and such. So because I do not understand reality, therefore I exaggerate phenomena and I create my delusions. So there's your 12 links of interdependent origination, and the 3 or 6 realms, and the 3 primary delusions. But again, misunderstanding, attachment, and aversion. Okay, anyway, so the big one for the middle scope is analyzing our sense of self, only our sense of self. If you're in the Bodhisattva vehicle, you actually first analyze the nature of phenomena. that all phenomena are empty of self-existence. They are a play of interdependence, merely labeled. That's the Madhyamika presentation. We'll just stick with that for now. Anyway, so they do that. Why? Because a bodhisattva wants to be more functional when working for the benefit of sentient beings. And so if, sentient beings are part of phenomena, they're not your sense of self, which is sort of like when you do an analysis, you have sense of self or phenomena. What's the nature of my sense of self? What's the nature of phenomena? Phenomena that would include all sentient beings, okay? So in regards to the bodhisattva, they do that analysis so that they're more flexible and adaptable and capable in being a bodhisattva working for the benefit of sentient beings. If you want to just usually say cop out, you go for your sense of self is not independently self-existent, and you'll get personal liberation. And if you have powerful enough meditation on the understanding that my sense of self is not independently self-existent, you would then sort of evaporate your exaggeration sense of self, and you could rest, hold your consciousness in the clear light state or nirvana, whatever you want to call it, and then you never arise again, because you don't want to come back. Anytime you come back, or if we look at the Buddha's sutra called the Fire Sutra, it's one of the very first sutras he gave, which is, when your eye sees something, you get burned. When your ear hears something, you get burned because you have attachment, or you smell or taste or something physical. So it's called the Fire Sutra because it's the sutra of that if you have delusions, all phenomena will burn you, cause you suffering. So you don't want that. So you say, I want out. I don't want any more suffering. So my sense of self is not independently self-existent. It's created by a variety of factors. Now, the big one, when I was thinking about this presentation, so, right now, your sense of self, you can understand, okay, I'm not self-existent. I'm always changing moment to moment. I can put good things in by studying and doing my Dharma practice and such, so I can change and transform myself. That's a good basic understanding, but what's the experience? Well, the experience is based on the analogies of it's like an image of the moon at nighttime, the image of a moon in a clear lake, an image in a mirror, or a dream. Now, all those phenomena appear. They have the dynamics of causes and circumstances. But when you see the moon in the flat, smooth surface of a lake in the nighttime, the moon's not down there. The moon's up in the sky. So that image, although vividly appearing, is not truly existent. It has its causes and circumstances, so therefore it's valid, but it's not exaggerated into really being something. Or the better example is this: if you go into a restaurant and the one wall of the restaurant is a mirror, and you look and you walk in, you don't know that, and you look, oh, there's my friend John, And so you completely, like you might say, you put this goopy substance of your consciousness and saying, John is here. And it's so vivid because the mirror is really clear. But then you suddenly go, oh, no, John's over there, because John's actually just reflected in the mirror. Now, both the phenomena, John over there and John in the mirror, are equal. They are equally created by causes and circumstances and vividly appearing. I mean, so vivid that you believe John was over here. So what you do is you remove the goopy substance. Yes, that's John, but I don't exaggerate it as being a truly existent John. Then you of course shift over here, and then you have because of our misunderstanding, we have a truly existent John. But anyway, whatever. So my point is what would be the experience? I don't quite actually know, other than to say that you don't exaggerate your sense of self. You still have a sense of self, like Buddha Shakyamuni, like Padmasambhava, like Milarepa, like Tsongkhapa, but you don't have a sense of exaggeration on that. You are pliable, dynamic, and actually we started it. Sense of self. My sense of self has understanding. So anyway, when you analyze in that way, then you will free yourself of exaggerating phenomena and being attached to them, or exaggerating phenomena as being an enemy of your happiness and having anger and such. So you disengage. And actually that's the term for, you could say, is that a Hinayana, a person who's going for personal liberation, is disengaging from phenomenon, everything is from their sense of self. They disengage. They want a state of consciousness which is completely free of any encumbrances. They disengaged. Bodhisattvas engage. They want the understanding of disengagement, but they want to engage all sentient beings to help them to become more enlightened. So a nice term for, self-realization is disengaging. For being a bodhisattva is engaging, but engaging with wisdom and compassion. Okay, anyways, that's just the Buddha bit. It's just that do not think that your sense of self is going to cease to exist. No, but your sense of self is going to have a much better understanding of its sense of self, and therefore you're very functional. And again, this is the simplest version of this is that Buddha has an enlightened ego. It really doesn't sound right. You could say Buddha has an enlightened personality. That sounds close. Buddha's sense of self is enlightened. Easy. No, those are good ways to sort of reflect on it, to try to understand it. Your sense of self is a valid phenomena, but just we don't exaggerate it. We don't misunderstand it. Okay, so that's just the middle scope of spiritual practice. I thought it would be interesting to try to do a little video for that. I'm just trying to do the graduated path in really nice, simple terms, and so we've concluded this. Thank you very much.